I decided to do my speech about the region I've recently moved to, Brittany, in order to learn something myself, thanks to the research I've done to prepare this speech. So we recently decided to move out to Quimper because my girlfriend got a job in this region in a city nearby. And upon arrival here, I noticed certain similarities between Brittany and the UK, my home country. And I'm not just talking about the weather. The personality of the people here, for a start. They're a bit more open and chatty than people in Paris. At least I find that's the case. There's also a huge boating culture here, just like in the south of England. They sell baked beans and HP sauce in the supermarket, which is great for me. The music seems to have a similar sound to it. There's many similarities. But it was when I noticed the name Cornouaille on a bottle of cider that I decided I had to look more into this link between Great Britain and Little Brittany. The word Cornouaille, which refers to the region I'm living in here in Brittany, is of course very similar to the name of the English region of Cornwall. And the word is said to be the same. It's the same word in two different languages. It has the same origin and it means the people of the peninsula, which makes sense when you look at a map of these regions. When these regions were first named, Cornwall and Cornouaille, they represented a cross-channel principality in the early Middle Ages, so they were a principality in itself. And of course, the name Brittany dates back to a period a little bit later on in the Middle Ages when this part of France was seen as a British colony. On to the point of the love for boats out here. I'm feeling like I need to buy a boat. It probably wouldn't be a sensible investment considering that I don't know how to navigate, but it seems like everyone here either owns a boat or a surfboard or something like that. Again, there's a clear historical reason for this. The people who originally settled here, the Celts, were boat people who moved around. They moved across the coastal areas of northern France, England, Ireland, Wales, Scotland, and some people claim the Celts even had a major influence all the way down to northern Spain and Portugal. I must admit that I have noticed certain similarities between Brittany and another region I used to live in, Galicia, in northern Spain. Anyway, despite the scope you give to it, the presence of the Celts can be seen today in place names and in the languages which are still spoken in these regions today. The Breton, the Irish, Gaelic, Welsh, Manx, and Cornish languages. In some of these regions, the Celtic influence and language has faded, whereas in others, there has been a recent revival of the culture and languages in recent years. The people of these regions seem to be rather proud of their common heritage and have their own institution, which is called the Celtic League. I took a look at their website and they seem to have some rather interesting objectives. The number one priority of the Celtic League is, and I quote, "to win or to secure the political, cultural, social, and economic freedom the nations need for their survival and development as independent." So I was quite surprised at first at reading this and understanding this idea of an institution to help these Celtic nations gain independence. But the Celts are clearly a people who have been marginalized by the French and the British over the years. So in recent times, they've been highlighting their difference. And in some Celtic nations, such as Scotland and Ireland, for example, they have even been demanding independence. A fun example I found of the marginalization of Celtic culture was the banning of the use of the Breton language in schools here in Brittany in the 19th and 20th centuries. Children in Brittany at this time spoke Breton as their mother tongue, but it was banned by the French state in schools, and any child heard speaking Breton was made to wear an item, sometimes a necklace or a pair of shoes that had images of cows on them. And they faced the ridicule of their classmates for whenever they had to wear this symbol. The only way a pupil could get rid of the cow was to catch another pupil speaking Breton, and then they would hand the cow onto them. At the end of the day, the child who was wearing or carrying this image was punished and had to stay behind for an hour. The image of the cow and the disdain of the fellow pupils had an impact on the image of speaking Breton, helping French to be seen as the superior language here. Such measures were very successful and pretty much wiped Breton out as a mother tongue by 1950, more or less, before a recent revival. Again, this common heritage and this common struggle to defend Celtic culture and language leads me to the conclusion that the Celtic nations are genuinely different to their French and British neighbours. During my research, I also discovered an annual event called the International Celtic Congress. This year, the event was scheduled to be held in Wales, in a town called Aberystwyth. Sorry for the pronunciation. But it was cancelled due to the coronavirus pandemic. The theme of this year's postponed conference was how to be successfully Celtic in a modern business world. A topic which seems rather vague to me, but I guess it could be interesting if that floats your boat. Onto the similarities in music. Celtic music has been passed down by oral tradition, and that is how it has survived until the modern day. I recently went to an event in a pub here where a group started singing, and then other people just joined in, and some people got on and started playing instruments with them at the same time, which was cool. And this folk music very much reminded me of Ireland, but apparently this musical tradition also exists here on a wide scale, but it's just not as commercialized as music is in Ireland. So that's something that I'm very much looking forward to in the long, cold winter months ahead. Hopefully I'll be able to hear more of that in the pubs here. The last sign of the bond between Little Brittany and Big Brittany that I wanted to discuss was my can of baked beans. I wanted to look into the historical and modern trade links between Brittany and the UK, but I found myself overwhelmed with articles about Brexit and the impact it may have on industries here, notably the fishing industry. So even though there's a strong relationship, a strong bond between Brittany and my homeland, the UK, this served as a reminder that Brexit is now putting this relationship under strain. Thanks for listening to my speech about this region. In order to be accepted in Brittany, they're forcing me to tell everybody that it's great, that it never rains. I wanted to show you the weather behind me, but you know, for the lighting, I had to close the shutters so you can't see how sunny it is, and that there's a very low rate of coronavirus here. So there's no reason why you all shouldn't come and join me and become part of the Celtic Community Brace Edition. And just FYI, and to avoid answering the same question from various colleagues after this speech, yes, I will still be coming to Paris every now and again for work, even though I'd like to work a little bit in this region as well, if possible. That's it for me. Thank you very much. I hope you all enjoyed the speech.